Hello fellow audiophiles, I am Wave Theory and we are back today to do my full review of the JPS Labs Abyss Diana TC planar magnetic portable headphone. Alright, so I did my first impressions video of this. It posted on YouTube a few days ago, but I filmed it a little over a week ago now I think, and I've listened to it more since then, so I'm ready to come back with some more complete thoughts. Before I get into that, please remember to do things that you normally do to support YouTube channels, like and subscribe and all of those sorts of things. Alright, let's get into this then. I'm going to level with you up front here that this is one of those challenging reviews for me, again. And even though it's probably going to wreck my analytics and people are going to click away a little bit too quickly by hearing the bottom line first, is that just straight up, I think this one is a bit of a miss. Abyss has seen better days than they have with this headphone. What I'm going to do is try to explain why in the remainder of this video. However, I understand that this is a preference-based hobby and there are still going to be people out there who enjoy this headphone and think that it is the bee's knees or whatever you want to call it. And that's okay. We can still be friends. This just, on this channel, and I think you have seen it, and I can link to a bunch of them down below, I have listened to a lot of really high-end / top-of-the-line headphones in recent months, and this one doesn't stack up very well. So, yeah, if that's going to bother you to hear why, just click away now, and I'll see you in the next one. For those of you who are still here, let's talk about what's going on here. Now, I also want to say that I have nothing against Abyss Labs, or really any of the headphone companies that I have reviewed here. I really don't have anything against them. I just feel like, particularly when you're talking about this headphone, which lists for just shy of $4,500 US, that if I were to make that purchase, anyway, I would want someone out there who is willing to just tell me their unvarnished opinion of this thing. And that's what I'm gonna do here. And again, it's awkward because I respect Abyss as a company. I like what they have done on their YouTube channel. I think that's a cool little outreach thing, and it's interesting to hear those knowledgeable guys talk about their understanding of the hobby and headphone building and just listening to music and that sort of thing. So I want to see Abyss do well. My bottom line here is this one is a miss. They're asking too much money for it. And I think that time will tell that this particular model, the Diana TC, kind of goes the way of the Sennheiser HD700, where, you know, when a company that has established itself as releasing exciting, high-quality products brings out a new model, there is that initial excitement and that kind of honeymoon phase where everyone wants to hear it and everyone's kind of aglow about it. And then in time, it just kind of fades. And so, like, when's the last time you heard someone get really excited about an HD700 from Sennheiser? You hear about the HD600 series, you hear about the HD800 series. Like, those two model lines are very much part of our headphone hobby lexicon. Like, they are still sought after popular models. No one really talks about the HD700. And I think this one has a similar fate for it going forward. Okay, into the details here. What this is, as I said before, is it is an open back planar magnetic headphone that is sort of portable-ish, sorta. Right, and we'll talk about that in a moment too. And it lists for, again, $4,500 US, and I don't say that again to beat a dead horse, other than to say that, like, the $4,000 to $5,000 price point is loaded with really high quality, high performing, and very enjoyable headphones these days. So this has some really stiff competition to be measured against. Alright, So if you are familiar with Abyss and their headphones, like the basic build over their Diana series is just, it's the same here, right? We've got this flexible metal with leather over it headband here. There's really not much in the way of, what is this called again? There's a word for this motion here, and I'm not thinking of it at the moment, but it's there. There's not a whole lot there. For that, I mean, you can tell there is a little bit, but not a ton. And then, of course, the driver housing, super thin. And I mentioned the drivers here. Like, what this is their top of the line driver from their AB 1266 Phi TC headphone put into the Diana housing, right? And so, yeah. I just thought of that line that Ian Malcolm says from the movie Jurassic Park. If you remember that, like he's talking about the cloning of the dinosaurs, and he's like, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should. Okay, you can put the AB 1266 Phi TC driver into a Diana housing. Should you? We'll come back to that. Okay. And then, of course, I still really like this about Abyss is the whole headphone system, or the ear pad system that pops off, okay, and it, you can rotate on these pegs here. I'll cover up the serial number, but you can rotate on those pegs there, and you can have 4 different orientations for the pads, where, I mean, for most people, like, you can find a pad position. For me, I think it's down with this seam right here, down and back, where it completely encloses and seals on the ear. That doesn't do a great job for bass response. Like, I watched an Abyss video recently where they talked about how headphones are like creating a room within a room. Like, the headphone itself and listening to it is like a room for your ears within whatever space that you are in, like whatever room you are in. Well, you can either completely close the doors and windows to this room with the pad position, or you can leave some number of doors and windows open, and that does have effects on the sound. The pads are nice and soft and cushy, and all of that. Now, comfort on this varies a lot based on that pad position, and so does the sound. All right, so those, if you are still interested in this model or any of Abyss's headphones, like they all do that as far as I know, you can really play with the fine-tuning of the sound. Cabling is a dual 2.5 millimeter entry with significant recesses for the cable entry, and here is the stock cable for this one. The stock cable came to me with a 4-pin XLR termination on the amp end. And then we have these like proprietary shaped 2.5 millimeter connectors on the headphone end, which fit those recesses. So aftermarket cabling for this can be a little bit challenging because of how deeply recessed and then the shape and size of the recess for these 2.5 millimeter jacks on the headphone. Now, fortunately, Abyss themselves, they offer pretty good high quality cables, and honestly, I don't have any real complaints about this stock cable. The length of it is it seems like it's made for a more portable situation, because what is it, about 4-ish feet long, I think, something like that, which is usually about the length of something you would expect to find for a more mobile or portable, transportable kind of situation. But it's fine. Abyss offers upgraded cables when you order. That, of course, just drives up the price of the package from there. All right, now, let's talk. Oh, I should mention, I went back and reread my my written review of the Diana Phi when I did that one, and the glue for the Diana Phi on the pads. So there's this plastic mounting ring kind of thing, and then the pads themselves are glued to it. At least they were on the Diana Phi. Is that stitched in there? No, I think that's still glue. Okay. Anyway, a fail point on the Diana Phi with the pads is that this would separate in here, and that glue wasn't the strongest thing, and it needed to be because the magnetic field on these drivers is quite strong, and so you gotta pull on the pad a fair amount to get it off of there, and that puts stress on that glue joint. And Abyss seems to have addressed that with this iteration here, because I did not have any issues or ever really feel like that joint was going to fail when I would pull these pads off to change a pad position or anything of that nature. So that was one thing that they addressed. Okay, back to the sound. And this is where things just really become a challenge for me, because sonically, just straight up, they're asking too much money for this. At minimum, and I don't enjoy saying this at all, at minimum, this is about $1,500 overpriced. My gut tells me that I should say it's more like $2,000, maybe even $2,500 overpriced. Like, something happened here sonically that is less than good. So again, I reviewed the Diana Phi back last spring, and its sound signature didn't work for me. Its aggressiveness in the detail retrieval didn't work for me, but I recognized its excellence and that some people would really like it. I reviewed the AB1266 Phi TC, like that was a video review, and that posted back in November of 2021. It is currently March of 2022. And same thing, like, its sound signature did not work for me, its presentation didn't really work for me, but I recognized the technical excellence of it and why some people would really enjoy it. And the thing is true about both the 1266 and the Diana Phi was their bass was just stunningly good. Right? The extension, the presence, the slam, the texturing, the pitch definition, the articulation, the detail retrieval in the low end. Like, I just haven't heard that combination of all of those things being either right tied with the best headphones or way ahead of some of the best other headphones out on the market. Like, they're just bass cannons, amazing. This one, after more listening, is a step back in that regard, to a pretty significant degree. It is more bass present, at least in the mid-bass, than many of the $4,000-ish headphones out there. Like, there's going to be more mid-bass presence than LCD5. More mid-bass presence than, I would venture to say, Susvara. More mid-bass presence than Susvara. More mid-bass presence than Utopia. Right? Some of those other high-end headphones in there. What it lost, regardless of pad position, that I found, was the truly deep extension and the ability to extend with authority and maintain its detail and its texturing and those sorts of things. I started digging out all of my other headphones to compare this one against, and like, look at that bass presence. Like, but my I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but my Foztex TH900 with the Lawton Purple Heart chambers on it slammed harder, had more true deep bass extension. My Hi-Fi-Man HE1000 V2, my Edition XS from Hi-Fi-Man, my HE6 SEV2 from Hi-Fi-Man, my Odyssey LCD2 Pre-Phaser, my Focal Radiance. All of those were either just as good in the extension or just as good in the slam, sometimes both, sometimes better than this one is. Like, this is not at the top of the heap on overall bass performance anymore, which to me was one of the big draws to Abyss. And yes, I know some people are going to say, well, what about the different pad positions? I tried them all. It didn't matter. Like, something happened here. I don't know what it was. Did I fail to break it in? I mean, there were 2 listeners ahead of me. Before this unit got to me, 2 other people had it before me. It was sent to me by the same friend of the channel who has been sending me high-end / top-of-the-line gear like all the time. So, I have a feeling it's pretty well broken in. It's been listened to a lot, I imagine, and I put a couple dozen hours on it at least, on my own. So, it's not the top of the heap on bass extension anymore. One thing that I did like is they did relax the presentation a bit in comparison to 1266 and the Diana-Fi. I thought those two were too aggressive in their detail retrieval. They were wonderfully resolving. They were wonderfully textured all through their sound, but they were just too proud and in your face to my liking in that regard. This one does chill that out a little bit, but so it's more listenable in its presentation. Sounds a little bit more natural in that way to my ear. But also, I really struggled to hear its resolution advantage over my HE1000 V2. With the Diana-Fi, with the 1266, they are noticeably ahead in just raw resolution, raw detail retrieval than my HE1000 V2. This direct A-B comparison, I didn't hear it. Okay, I didn't. And then, like, staging. I did not really get... There's not a great sound stage here. There's not super spectacular imaging and all of that. Like, it's not that it's horrible. It's just not what you would expect for $4,500 US. And that's, again, and then we've got to talk about the sound signature, which is usually where I start. But to me, that's like the final nail in the coffin of this thing is regardless of the pad position, and yes, I tried all four, the mid-range is way too forward. It's very shouty. It's very honky. It's very hollow sounding. Vocals get nasally. Just that sensation, that sort of thing that you hear when it's like someone is talking or singing through their hands like this or through a paper towel tube or something like that. That timbral quality just dominates the mid-range presentation on this all the time. It's just so forward and so aggressive in that way. It just, I can't do it. I can't do it. That has been an issue for me with the other two Abyss models that I have heard, period. Like, they have all done that to me, but this one just takes it to another level. Right? It's just much more forward there. Let's see. And then finally, there's the... I'm going to come back to that line I just mentioned about Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. Abyss Labs, it seems like they were concerned with whether or not they could put the 1266 Phi TC driver in here. They didn't stop to think about whether or not they should. It's hard to drive. Like, it's very amp demanding. The amp that I used for this the most was my Vielectric HPA V281. That amp has locked down my reviewing work for all of the high-end headphones and all that I've had in here, save the electrostats. Like, it powered the Susvara well. It powers the HE6 SEV2 well. Not that it makes, like, the Susvara, and it powered the Utopia, it powered LCD5, and I'm not saying that it makes all of those headphones sound their best. But it does a good enough job where it's, like, competent. You can start to get it on each of those headphones, like, what makes them tick. So, I am confident in its ability to handle this. But, like, what I was finding is, like, this, on my V281's potentiometer, I would need another hour to 2 hours of clock position on the potentiometer compared to my HE1000 V2 to drive this thing. The HE1000 V2 is also not an easy drive. It's not portable friendly. Abyss talks about their Diana series being portable or transportable, and it's just very unclear to me what you're going to use to drive this with. I tried it on my Hugo 2, and it was a similar situation that I came across with like the Dan Clark Audio Stealth, in that, yeah, the Hugo 2 pushed it. It sounded reasonably okay, but like there was a treble peak that got introduced in there, some sibilance that the V281 didn't introduce. It didn't hit quite as hard in the bass, and that sort of thing. So some of the telltale signs that the amp was being overstressed were there with the Hugo 2. And the Hugo 2 is one of the more powerful transportable options out there. In comparison to my HE6 SEV2, this one was like maybe 30 minutes to an hour, depending on track, less clock position on my V281's potentiometer. So again, this is a hard to drive headphone. I'm struggling with, not only do I think it was a miss sonically, what is its place in the market at $4,500 US? Now I noticed, because I looked up the prices just now, that Abyss raised their prices on their top of the line, their flagship 1266 model right now, from what was $5,000 USD for the intro package when I did that review back in November, to just shy of $6,000 US here in March of 22. And so they slotted this one in at $4,500. Like, had there been a $500 price difference, I would have said, don't bother with this at all. It's not a great portable solution because of how hard it is to drive. And then it also, like, there in no way is it only $500 worth of performance behind the 1266. I still think that even at $1,500 more, the 1266 is the better buy. Okay, by a fair amount. Because I think you can get overall better performance of this than this for significantly less money. As I heard from my headphone collection here. Some of those headphones that I mentioned just in comparison with the bass, they all had better timbre. Some of them got very close in overall detail retrieval. They all pretty much staged better, and so forth. So, yeah. This one, it feels like a headphone looking for a place in the market. It's too expensive at $4,500 US. And yeah, I think this is going to go the way of the HD 700. There was excitement when it launched because a good company, a legitimately good company that has done good things prior to it, put out a new product, and that's always exciting. And then sometimes in time, we realize that, okay, that one wasn't quite to their standards, and that's what's going to happen here. I fully predict that. That's what's going to happen here. All right, I'll leave it there. I'm sorry that if that wasn't the most fun review. And again, I'm not trying to attack Abyss here. I'm not trying to say they are a bad company or that they are trying to be misleading or anything. I just think they missed this one. They just missed this one. I find that disappointing. They may never send me a review sample directly. That's fine. Okay. I think more importantly, I think you should know that for $4,500 US, there are better options than this. And I would want someone to tell me that if I were about to drop $4,500 US. So that's why I'm saying that. So, all right, I'll leave it there. I hope I have explained in sufficient detail why I think this one was a miss. I'm not saying don't look at Abyss. I think their 1266 has some real strengths. It sets the standard for bass reproduction in headphones right now. The Diana Phi, if you can get one of those used, you can start to get a good flavor of that bass reproduction. I think that's worth checking out, particularly if you can get it used, and so forth. So I'll put that out there too. But anyway, lest I ramble too much more, I am Wave Theory. Thanks for watching, everyone. This has been my review of the Abyss Diana TC headphone. So thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy the music.